Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natalie Stone, and I serve as an assistant director in the Office of Student Involvement. We are so excited for you to be joining us today for a 90 Stories for 90 Years interview. Fraternity and Sorority Life has been on DePaul's campus for 90 years, and in celebration of this big milestone, we are interviewing faculty, staff, students, alumni, and advisors about their fraternity or sorority experience. I'm really excited to be joined by Stephanie Smith today. She is going to share a little bit more about her experience in undergrad and how she's continued to be involved even after she has graduated. So Stephanie, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Natalie. I'm happy to be here, and I think 90 Stories for 90 Years is a great idea, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So as Natalie said, I'm Stephanie Smith. I am a very proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I became a member on May 29th, 1976. Yes, very long time ago, but in a land not so far away. And I pledged at Northwestern University in Evanston. And received my bachelor's and master's degrees there. I'm currently the Vice President of Human Resources for DePaul, and I also serve as an adjunct faculty member in the Driehaus College of Business.
And I know we were talking before this that you've been with DePaul for 9 years. So can you tell us a little bit about your DePaul journey and what it means to you to be a Blue Demon?
Yeah, well, I had a 30-year career in industry, 22 of which were with Kraft Foods before joining DePaul in 2012 as the Chief Human Resources Officer. I think, like so many at DePaul, I joined because I was tremendously inspired by the university mission, particularly around access and service to first-generation college students. I've got a great appreciation for the impact that education can have on the lives of individuals. I've also been a student at DePaul. I received my doctorate from DePaul in 2019, just recently. As previously mentioned, I'm a member of the faculty in Driehaus. I think what's kind of extraordinary, I was thinking about this not so long ago. I've had a triple experience in my DePaul journey. I'm an administrative officer, I've been a student, and a faculty member. So triple demon or something, I guess. What does it mean to me to be a Blue Demon? It's a tremendous source of pride, I think. And particularly as a Black woman, I'm just enormously proud of the history of DePaul as an institution of higher education that served others when there were institutions who wouldn't. There's just this strength in that legacy, particularly with those who are the first in their families to attend college and to graduate. That was my story. I'm quite honored to be in a position to give back to an institution that has such a profoundly significant mission. But I was the first in my family to go to college and graduate.
Yeah, I when you say there's such the mission is such a big part of the reason why you chose to come to DePaul, and I think that relates so well to Fraternity and Sorority Life, because I think many students choose to join a particular chapter based on the mission and the values of the organization. And so can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to join your chapter and how it shaped your undergraduate experience, especially as a first-generation college student?
Yeah. Well, I arrived at college knowing a little bit about AKAs. My older sister had a few friends who were sorors, and they were all people that I really liked and looked up to. And so when I arrived on campus as a freshman at Northwestern, I was in this all-female dormitory, which housed many AKAs. And, there were a couple of young women who actually lived on my floor who were pledging early in my freshman year. And so I got to kind of get to know them and to see and understand the pledge process up close. And the pledge process is a enormously busy time. It prepares you very well for multitasking. And I know that there were some of these women that, with everything they had, I actually helped, get them food or bring them food or things like that, or, picked up things for them, if they were a little stretched for time. So got to know them. And, I think the main reason I pledged is because I truly liked the women, the young women in the chapter. I think they were smart, they were goal-oriented, they were community-minded, and it didn't hurt that they like to have fun, and they seem to be having fun. I was really glad I pledged my freshman year. Some people tell you, oh, just wait a while. But I was glad I pledged my freshman year. I believe it kept me focused. During my undergraduate years, it provided instant affinity, particularly on a college campus where, the minority population wasn't so vast. It provided a healthy alternative to studying. It's just a source of tremendous racial pride once I learned the history of sorority as well.
Yeah, and I think, kind of speaking to that, finding that sense of belonging and community is so important, especially during your first year at a predominantly white institution, and being able to connect with women who are goal-oriented and that are going to help you navigate the university structure and just how to make your way through. And I think that's really a special part of the NPHC experience. Because I think I've seen that so much here at DePaul, lending a hand right away, even if you're not a member of the community yet, and seeing how can we support you right from the beginning.
Yeah, makes a difference.
So can you talk a little bit about what your favorite value or commitment of your organization is and why?
Yeah, well, I've always loved the fact that that Alpha Kappa Alpha was founded to promote scholarship, friendship, and service to all. I think it's really sobering to realize that the university was actually founded only 45 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So Emancipation Proclamation was announced January 1863, and Alpha Kappa Alpha was founded January 1908.
Wow.
And so really 45 years later, that's not that long, right?
No.
And, you can hear the toll of injustice actually in the opening phrases of the sororities hymn. It's through the years as we struggle with main and with might to capture a vision fair. These were women we're struggling, and part of the struggle is trying to get justice and fairness. I think if you take a step further, it's scholarship that they believe would alleviate a lot of the things that interfered with the progress for girls and young women. And that was what they were about. They were thinking that scholarship would lift them up, right, and help them get past some of the injustices that they were experiencing. And so I fast forward and why those values and commitments are important to me. As a business executive who specializes in human resources, that charge really resonates with me. In my role, I've always felt that that it was incumbent upon me to ensure equity and fairness and removing roadblocks where I could, where there was unfairness or inequality. As I indicated, got my dissertation from DePaul in 2019, and my topic is overcoming barriers at the intersection of race and sex as it pertains to Black women in corporate America. So I just continue to, that continues to resonate with me and continues to be, I think, a theme, in my life.
And it's great to hear, even though you joined AKA a while ago, how it's still impacting your career today and your education, like you choosing to focus on that particular topic in your dissertation. And I think like that's like the lasting legacy of AKA that will continue on, after graduation and, many years after graduation. And so, I think it's cool to see how Fraternity and Sorority Life can inspire students for their future careers and how they take maybe different parts of it, whether that be a philanthropic cause the organization focuses on, or, they somehow became the VP of finance and now that is their, career roadmap. And so I think that's a really special part about FSL, is that continuous involvement after graduation.
Yeah. I think it lives, if you let it, and if you think about it, if that becomes really a part of your essence, it will live through you continuously, right? And you come back to it. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to mention anything more of like how you have continue to stay active after graduation.
Yeah, so I'm not, although I don't currently belong to a graduate chapter, but I am financially active, have always been, which means I support the national organization and its goals and objectives. I think that that's really important. I'm still in contact with the sorors from my undergraduate chapter, Gamma Chi. The chapter that I pledged, and most recently we've really been in contact with each other because one of my line sorors, Danette Anthony Reed, is going to be the next international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha. She will become the national or international president in 2023. So we're all making plans. We're planning and planning to make plans to be with her to help celebrate this momentous occasion. This is, even bigger personally for us who have, who pledged with Jeanette. Than our soror Kamala Harris rising to vice president of the United States. We're very proud of her, but we don't know her like we know Danette.
Right. So that'll be a really special moment to celebrate with her. And I know we were talking a little bit before that's not something that you thought of about when you were pledging, AKA, that like one of your line sisters would become the international president and oversee all of AKA. So I think that will be a really cool and special moment to be able to celebrate with her.
Absolutely. You're so proud of her. Yeah.
So what most surprised you about joining Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated?
Most surprised. I think how far-reaching the organization is. You tend to, when you're on a campus and you're pledging, the circle seems a little small unless you've got an opportunity to get out and maybe go to a conference or something like that. But for the most part, I think most folks are busy on their campuses with their fraternities and sororities. But what surprised me was once I graduated, just how far-reaching the organization is. Internationally, there are now over 300,000 AKAs. And so, the thing that still surprises me is this feeling or sense of instant camaraderie and affinity that is established the moment you learn someone, is an AKA. Or quite frankly, I think, and I'm glad to see this as well, that there is this, we're all very proud of our specific sororities and fraternities that we pledged, certainly within the Black sororities and fraternities, we are known as the Divine Nine, D9. And there used to, and maybe there still are, but it seems to me that this is waning. The rivalries between them have waned, and we understand that we're all after or pursuing the same things in terms of the scholarship and service to humanity, and doing what we can to make the world a better place. So I've really always loved, but also been surprised by that shared experience and the immediate bonds that are established.
And I have seen that at DePaul, how our MPHC chapters have really come together to advocate on behalf of each other, advocate on behalf of the marginalized communities at DePaul. And I think they realize, yes, my chapter is very important to me and it always will be, but there's also something bigger than my chapter that we are fighting for. Right. And so I think when you're saying, yes, I think there will always be that competition between the MPHC chapters, but I think at the end of the day, they're all focused on the same purpose and goals. Right. And it's all about uplifting each other. And so I think that is, another special part about Fraternity and Sorority Life is that reach. I mean, it's not only your organization, there's going to be the alumni, there's going to be chapters at other universities, and you're going to continue to grow your network in Fraternity and Sorority Life.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So who has made an impact on your experience, either, in undergrad or, since you've graduated from Northwestern?
Yeah. So, I actually just found, I was going through a box of mementos a few weeks ago, and I found two things, and it just made me stop cold and realize how lucky and fortunate I was. So let me tell you a little bit about it. I think, to answer that question, I mean, there have been so many people, and it's even hard to kind of pinpoint. There's so many people, professors, bosses, colleagues. But I guess if I were to zero in on two pivotal things that happened to me that had an influence, I had the good fortune to have two outstanding Black role models as keynote speakers at my undergraduate and graduate convocations at Northwestern. And, you never forget about it, but somehow I had just put it out of my mind, I guess. But the Honorable Shirley Chisholm was the keynote speaker during my graduation from undergrad from Northwestern. And you may know she was the first African-American in the U.S. Congress and the first woman and African-American to seek the nomination for President of the United States. And I just recall, it made, I found my commencement program, and I also found a picture of Shirley Chisholm sitting on stage, and a picture of me going past her as I was receiving my diploma. It all just came flooding back. And I stopped and thought how meaningful that actually was. And I still remember one of her quotes, which I loved, and I've told many people, especially young women, that one of her quotes I love. She said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I just, in other words, don't let them keep you back, whoever them is, no excuses. Bring your own chair,
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah.
And then so Shirley Chisholm, as I said, was my keynote for my undergrad, and then a couple years later, the keynote for my graduate school convocation was Dr. Benjamin Hooks. And Dr. Hooks was a very famous civil rights activist and executive director of the NAACP at the time. And an interesting factoid regarding Dr. Hooks is that he got his law degree from DePaul.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. It comes full circle, right? Yeah. And he was just a very gracious man. And my father, had followed him for years and was just so admiring of him and what he was about and what he was doing in civil rights at the time. And so my father actually saw him going past, and he goes, Dr. Hooks, and, so he comes over, very gracious, and meets me and talks to my dad a little bit. And he took a picture with me. I have that picture. And he asked me what, I was going to be doing after my graduation. And I had to explain to him that I was still in job search mode. I'd come out at a pretty unfortunate time, in the economy during a recession. But he agreed to write letters of recommendation for me. And I still have those, Natalie. I still have letters of recommendation because he copied. Yeah, he blind copied me on them. And, it was just... So when I think about those two historical figures and role models, it doesn't get much better than that.
No, it's. I mean, I'm sure it's so special to be able to look back on those references, and then also just to think back about that time, walking across the stage and what that meant for you and your family, and then be able to be in the presence of, these individuals that have accomplished so much and that you look up to, and how much they've impacted your life still today.
Yeah.
So what are some of the lessons that you learned from being a member of your organization? I know we've kind of touched on a few different lessons, but what are some of those key lessons you learned through AKA?
Yeah, I think one of the key lessons that I learned, certainly, I talked a little bit about how busy you are when you're pledging, but you're also just as busy when you become a member of the sorority. So I think that this ability to multitask and the expectations of you are pretty high. I mean, the expectations, at least for those of us who are in Northwestern, is, academic quality, you got to stay in school, and you're great. It's not just you got to get by. You got to. Right. We want you to excel. So that was part of it. So the you were supposed to do that, and so that multitasking expectation and doing well. It's just the standards, that there were high standards and that you should meet, and that you can meet those high standards. Right. But the other thing is that, you can make a difference. Community and, serving the community was a big part of what the chapter did. And, I think it's you can make a difference no matter where you are. Even at the tender age of 19, 20, you can make a difference in this world and make somebody's life a little easier, a little better. I've come to really love this mantra or adage, I guess, around cast your bucket where you are. Right? So wherever you are, lower the bucket and help. I think too many times, we hold off making a difference in anticipation of any number of things. We wait for when we have more time. We wait for when we have more money. We wait for, when we have more education or experience. And honestly, and you look back, those are all excuses, Yeah. I mean, just jump in and do what you can do. I think those were the big things when I look back on it. Because certainly coming, being in college, I didn't have, any of those things, right? I didn't have my degree yet. I didn't have a whole lot of money, certainly. And I didn't have a whole lot of time, but, we were doing things that mattered. And I think that's the lesson, a key lesson.
Yeah, and I think when you were speaking about kind of like diving right in and figuring out how you can contribute to the community, even though you are, 19, 20 years old. And I think I've always been impressed with AK chapter at DePaul of like they've dived right into different community service projects. And if they don't have the funding, they figure out ways to apply for funding. And, I think they try to be really creative. And I've, especially during this pandemic, I've been just so impressed with the perseverance and resilience and saying like, we're going to keep going. Like, we're not going to stop as an organization. Like we can still serve in this virtual environment. Because I think, yes, it's been very challenging, but I think, as you said, it's just an excuse. So they're like, we're going to keep doing something and diving right into that community service.
Right.
So kind of a little bit of a different question now, not your experience, but what is your best advice for someone who is interested in joining a fraternity or sorority?
Yeah. I would say, know your why for joining a sorority or fraternity. It's not for everybody. And, which is why, it's so great to be in a place like DePaul, because we have so many things that can attract students' interest in their desires and proclivities. So, but, before you join a fraternity or sorority, I would say know your why. Don't join just because your best friend did it or because gosh, they've got cool jackets or, whatever. I mean,
it's much more than that.
Yeah, it is much more than that. And I think, to be fair to yourself as well as the sorority, these sororities and fraternities have a history and a purpose. So join because you believe in what they stand for and because you want to advance the mission of the organization. And, we used to have, I know on campus, Tiaka sessions, those interested in AKA, and you would go and learn a little bit about what that organization stood for, what the sorority stood for. And, I think that those are, do your homework, find out, what is this organization I'm joining? Don't just join for superficial reasons, but really join because you believe in what they're doing and you think you have something to give along those lines. And you want to help them advance, their goals and objectives.
It is a big investment. And so I always, tell students, you don't have to join right away. You can, take the time if you need to do that research, but really find, as you kind of said, like the values that align with you. And you have to know your why at the end of the day, because it is a lifelong commitment. It's not just a 1 year, 2 year commitment.
That's right.
Our goal is for you to stay connected, after you graduate and walk across that stage at DePaul.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think you'll get more out of it that way too. You know, I mean, I'm able to sit here and talk to you today and think about this because, you know, I've always taken that commitment seriously and have found that it has been sustained throughout, you know, my educational and career, job career. So
in closing, what is your favorite event or memory from your undergraduate experience?
Oh my gosh, Natalie.
You can also pick more than one. I know that's like a really like hard question. So if you have more than one, feel free to share more than one.
There are so many. I had such a great time, you know, in college, and certainly being part of the sorority was a big part of it. But I think one of my favorite memories, it probably occurred soon after I became a soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And, you know, one of my favorite memories was actually walking across campus or along campus and hearing these, you know, high-pitched ski-wheeze throughout my day. You know, there's nothing like that sisterhood. You know, it's just, and it would come out of everywhere, you know. So, yeah, that's that. I think that has to be among the favorite memories.
Yeah, I think that goes back to that sense of like pride and affinity that you have with AKA. Like, you know, you see them around campus, and I think you just always will have that sense of pride and affinity.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, about sharing your journey and your experience. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. I'm honored to have been asked.
Yes. Okay. Bye, everyone.